Well, it looks like it's that time again to talk about retconning and, well, the part it plays in some of our favorite properties and favorite comics, movies, and TV shows. And the reason I'm bringing this up again is, well, now, Masters of the Universe Revelation continues, and the latest content from it, well, it kind of continues to retcon previous MOTU history. So as a reminder, a retcon is when new information comes to light that changes stories that had already happened. It can be as simple as executives or writers or IP owners or whoever controls intellectual property, more or less simply, kind of hitting a button and initiating that a retcon is going to happen. This happens all the time in modern comic books. It's almost become, I don't want to call it a joke, but it's definitely become a, trope, shall we say, where even now in comic book movies, some of the movies don't count because future movies sort of make it so the previous movies never happened. This isn't something new to comics and movies. I mean, this has been happening for centuries. A famous one from 2 centuries ago is Sherlock Holmes being killed in The Last Problem and then resurrected in the very next story where it said that he was never killed. He just sort of went into hiding. That's a retcon. So, new information changing what we know, like Emperor Palpatine not dying, but rather being a clone or something. Still hasn't really been explained, has it? Well, let's get back to Masters of the Universe. The latest issue of the Revelation prequel comic book from Dark Horse has just landed, and it gives a new origin of Skeletor to straight line it. The secret origin of Skeletor that we've all wondered about for 40 years is finally revealed for the first time. Okay, no, it's not finally revealed for the first time because he's had an origin, and I'm not going to comment about how this affects Skeletor as a character because Midnight's Edge already did that. They did a fantastic video discussing that, so go check out that video linked here. What I want to talk about is how this is a really good thing. It's a confusing thing because there is a Keldor action figure at market right now that's super easy to get, barely an inconvenience, that you can pretty much walk into any Target and get the Origins of Evil 2-pack, the one that was supposed to destroy the toy industry because it wasn't available, months ago in bulk. All right, so that's Keldor. Well, Skeletor in the new comic is from a skull-based species that all have skulls for heads because, that's biologically, that makes sense. And Skeletor even marries and has a skull-faced child because, reasons. And that's great. I mean, actually, it is great because, well, for one, it does pay homage to his original origin, which was that Skeletor came from another dimension and wanted to bring his fellow skull-faced warriors with him to conquer Eternia for reasons. And this origin has had homages over the years, such as when in classics, the idea was Keldor, Prince of Eternia, combined with Demo Man to become Skeletor. All right, well, now it's kind of gone up a step further where throwing out Keldor altogether, and it's completely just a character from another dimension or another planet. There is no Keldor. There's no Keldor at all. It's just Skeletor. He's always been Skeletor. He was born this way with a skull for a face, as was his wife and his child. And when he sees his wife and child, destroyed in front of him, that sets him off on what will be his villain's or hero's journey, shall we say. And, all the people on his planet becoming enslaved and, and again, go check out Midnight Edge's video because he does a great job summarizing this and the effects on the character. So, you still have Hordak showing up and recruiting him, but he's always been Skeletor. There's no transformation. There's no Keldor, Prince of Eternia, that through, actions, through things that happen, becomes Skeletor. And this has been around for decades. It's not like Keldor was just made up for the 2000X series. It started in the mini-comics in the vintage line with the search for Keldor, where Skeletor is trying to prevent Randor from learning about his long-lost brother, Keldor. And yes, Keldor was going to be Skeletor. Keldor first showed up visually in the 2000X series, and this is really what popularized him. And he's a very tragic figure, because as the firstborn son of King Nero, the throne was rightfully his. So him being denied his throne is what led to him becoming an outcast, which is what led to him to battle against his brother Randor for the throne, which is what led to the accident that was almost essentially killed him, which burned his face off with some acid, and he had to be magically healed, and that's what turned him into Skeletor with a floating skull. He wasn't born with it. Now, the reason this is going to be confusing right now is because, again, there's a Keldor figure at market right now. So changing Skeletor's origin when you have a Keldor origin of evil 2-pack with Kronos who becomes Trapjaw out does send mixed messages. And for a line that's trying to find its footing with kids and collectors, this can be a little off-putting. And it's not like this is the first Keldor figure that's ever been released. We've had actually quite a few. Sometimes they're just Skeletor figures that come with a new head. Other times they've been direct releases, such as this Keldor figure from the Classics line that didn't have a Skeletor head at all. It just was Keldor. So, some elements remain. You know, Skeletor kneeling before Hordak and swearing allegiance. You know, it's still part of his origin, so it's not like everything's been thrown out. And there's obviously some imagery that's come before that's being recreated or repurposed, because it's good to have sort of beats. You know, it's like that whole George Lucas thing saying it's poetry when, you know, things repeat each other. I don't know. Either way, you know, this kind of concept of Keldor bowing before Hordak has happened, but the transformation of Keldor into Skeletor has always been part of his storyline and how he started off good. He was a knight for Eternia until Hordak came along and manipulated events like a chessboard and, you know, ripping Keldor away from his father and brother and the whole throne thing. Okay, so what is the silver lining, and why do I say this is a really good thing that there's a totally new origin for Skeletor, and why all of us who are He-Man fans out there should honestly be celebrating and be excited that this is happening? Well, for starters, first we have to look at kind of the things in Revelation that we didn't like and why it's getting a lot of negative press, especially amongst the hardcore fans. So, obviously, it's the whole, you know, call it the woke agenda, if you will, but more so the fact that we were led to believe that it was going to be a sequel to Filmation, and it turned out it wasn't at all, and we all felt kind of like, you know, gotcha. So, while I liked the show, I will say, like, that stuff still got to me, too. And the thing about MOTU is it is always changing, you know, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, but change has always been part of the brand. However, the fact that Revelation now through a new origin of Skeletor is further divergent, if you will, is just more evidence of the Masters of the Universe multiverse. Because the more Revelation takes a sort of sidestep away, it just backs up the idea that there's lots of versions out there of all the characters. He-Man, Battlecat, Orko, Teela, Skeletor, Mosquitor, Hey Pixel Dan. And the multiverse concept is, you know, what allows all of these versions to exist and not step on their toes is not really the right way, but, you know, it's like a Venn diagram where there's going to be some things that overlap, but when they diverge and there's two very different versions, then the more different they are, the better, if you will, because the more different they are, the more clearly it says, okay, this Masters of the Universe storyline is about this, and this one's about something else. So if you like He-Man being Prince Adam, that's great. If you like He-Man being a barbarian warrior who emerged from the jungle, that's great too. There's a, you know, a MOTU storyline out there for you. If you like He-Man, you know, running through space, hey, New Adventures is available. The 87 movie, it's out there. If you like He-Man on Earth with no Prince Adam, or the Power Tour, however you take your He-Man, there's a flavor for you. And the fact that Revelation now with this new origin of Skeletor is becoming even more different from what we, you know, I guess what's traditionally been Skeletor's origin, well, it just really adds more, call it evidence, that Revelation is a very different version, and if you don't like it, that's okay, because you don't have to like it. You don't have to like everything. You can accept the things about a property you like and disregard the things that you don't like. And that's what fans are all about. Every property really is kind of a choose your own adventure and decide which parts of a property are for you and which aren't. So the more different a property that you don't like goes, that's a good thing because it helps say like, whoa, yeah, this is really not for me. So you almost want a property that you don't like or that's new to be as different as possible. I hope that shed some light on all of our feelings about the new show and the new origin. Leave a comment below and search this channel because we have tons of videos that probably appeal to you on this type of subject matter. Thanks so much. Subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.